I hadn't missed a Saturday supper in 15 years. Not a single time. Not even when I was working 62-hour weeks. Not even after pulling back-to-back shifts during tax season. Not even the winter I came down with the kind of flu that left me unable to keep upright changed anything. My mother, Martha Haynes, always claimed I was the reliable one. The daughter who never forgot birthdays, always brought a sweet treat, always arrived without fail. That night, I spent 40 minutes driving to my parents' house, a steaming lasagna riding shotgun beside me. I put it together from the ground up, just the way my father, Robert Haynes, preferred, with plenty of cheese and no ricotta in sight. The aroma of garlic and basil filled the vehicle with a wave of nostalgia. That scent was the essence of home for me. Their porch beamed with a soft yellow glow as I pulled up, casting gentle light into the twilight, the kind that suggests someone is waiting just for you. I took care to park out front so I wouldn't take my older brother's space in the driveway. He was my older brother, Andrew Haynes, and he always managed to claim the spot nearest to the house. I made my way up the stairs, feeling the warmth of the lasagna in my hands. It was a familiar pattern. Left foot, then right, pausing on the third step because it always led out a creak. I didn't immediately knock. My hand moved toward the screen door, just as I heard someone say my name. My sister won't be an issue. She never turns down a request from family. It was my father's voice, steady and sure. I stopped abruptly, my hand suspended in midair beside the handle. Inside the house, conversations echoed across the kitchen's tiled walls. My mother sounded tense. But $250,000? That's just outrageous, Andrew. How did you even— Never mind how, Andrew responded curtly. The important thing is that this needs to be settled before the audit goes further. You promised you would take care of it. Then Robert spoke again, his tone steady and confident. We will. Rachel has just landed that promotion. Don't forget. She's a senior analyst at Everest Analytics Group. She's probably pulling in about 130 now. The dish in my hands stayed in place, but inside, something subtle changed. I remained motionless, afraid that any movement might make things spiral further. The cool feeling of the screen door was noticeable on my arm. The lasagna's warmth was fading in my grasp. From the other room, the conversation carried on as though I wasn't there at all. Patricia mentioned something about bonuses, which Andrew chimed in on. Probably more than 130. My mother let out a sigh. She works incredibly hard. She always has. There was a short silence. Then her voice grew quieter, almost as if she was trying to reassure herself. We'll say it's for the roof. The house keeps springing leaks. That's a good place to begin. Maybe 24,000. Later, when medical expenses come up, I'll just say there are some procedures I need. Andrew didn't let my mother finish. Spread out the requests. She will provide. She always does. Remember the business loan? 15,000. No hesitations. She never asked to have it repaid. She also gave us her signing bonus, Robert Haynes added with a hint of pride. 33,000. I just gave it away. Andrew let out a laugh. Who actually does something like that? Sponsor advertising for Facebook. Looking to boost your business's visibility on Facebook? Soku AI, HTTPS, pollinations, AI, redirect, NextAd, 10SMP460, user ID 983577, is an autonomous Facebook advertising AI agent that can revolutionize your ad campaigns. Trained by Facebook advertising specialists and performance marketing experts, Soku AI handles everything from audience research to budget optimization, achieving impressive ROAS. See how this expert-level automation can transform your Facebook advertising experience. She continues to believe we're a real family unit. Honestly, it's almost pitiful. My mother didn't find it funny at all. Her tone returned, sharp and fragile. Don't speak about your sister like that. She's oblivious, Mom, I said. She honestly believes that bringing over a stupid lasagna actually has meaning. I found myself paralyzed, unable to even blink. The image played out before me, right here on this porch, time after time, arms full, heart wide open, and never realizing I was being used up. My father sounded calm once more. We'll stagger when we ask for things. Rachel Haynes can't refuse when I start to tear up. That technique always succeeds. I'm uncomfortable with deceiving her, Martha murmured. That's not deception, Andrew shot back. That's what family does. Her cash is really family money. She doesn't have children or a partner. What else is she really using it for? That place at Crescent Commons Apartments? The place I had invested all of myself into. The one with the view overlooking Woodland Park and a front door that was locked. The one place I considered my own. She'll be all right, Robert said. His tone was as certain as a judge's. She always finds a way to manage. That's simply what she does. Are you absolutely certain there are no alternatives? Martha Haynes questioned. My tone became somber. Unless I wanted to be sent to Riverside Federal Correctional Institution for tax evasion and fraud, this had to be it. Monica Shaw told me that if I can repay it before they investigate further, they'll reduce it to civil penalties. Tax evasion. Fraud. My sibling, the one Martha and Robert Haynes used to boast about to cousins, co-workers, and even random shoppers. He wasn't just having a hard time. He was a criminal, and now the responsibility was falling on me. I shuffled backward from the doorway, making sure not to make the step creak. My palms were slippery with perspiration. The plate nearly fell from my grip, but I managed to hold on to it. Not a sound. Not a sign. I couldn't risk anyone finding out that I had overheard. I reached Crescent Commons Apartments and got to my car without falling apart. That surprised me. My legs felt disconnected, as if I were floating just above the pavement. The lasagna sat on my lap like a joke I no longer understood. I didn't drive off right away. I just sat there with the engine off, listening to the faint buzz of summer bugs and the occasional passing car. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. A text from my mother, Martha Haynes. Where are you, sweetie? Dinner's ready. My thumb hovered. Then I typed, sorry. Got called into work. Emergency audit. Rain check. 3 dots blinked. Then came her reply. Oh no, we have something important to discuss. Can it wait? She was going to say it. The roof? Just like they planned. Sorry, Mom. My boss said it was urgent. Love you. I didn't drive home. Not yet. I just drove. City lights, gas stations, places that didn't know me. I needed motion, not arrival. By the time I finally drove into Crescent Commons parking, the lasagna had already cooled off. I left it sitting on the seat beside me and headed upstairs with nothing in my hands. Once inside, I didn't bother flipping on the lights immediately. I lingered near the window, watching nightfall sift between the branches, and sensed something inside me shifting. It wasn't anger, not at that point. It was simply a weary sense of understanding. The year I earned my degree, I handed over $33,000 and got by on instant noodles and budget coffee until I could start saving once more. When my older brother's business failed, I offered him $15,000. For their anniversary meal, I covered the bill after they admitted money was tight. It never occurred to me to request repayment. Not once, because I believed this was just what daughters did, what sisters did, what family was supposed to do. But then a realization dawned on me that I had never grasped before. To them, my actions had never meant kindness or sacrifice. They interpreted them as simple acquiescence. By the time if you're working with large data sets and need help automating tasks such as audience research, creative selection, and budget optimization for advertising campaigns based on complex data transformations, consider using advanced AI solutions. Trained by specialists in advertising and performance marketing, Soku AI is equipped to navigate the complexities of audience psychology and creative fatigue, much like how I approach managing my own strategies. Soku AI helps me achieve expert-level campaign management for a fraction of what agencies charge, potentially making professional Facebook advertising accessible for projects of all sizes. As I lay down that night, an idea began to crystallize in my mind, quiet but precise. I decided that I wouldn't reveal to them what I had discovered, at least not just yet. When I woke up the next day, I skipped making coffee and instead took action. I settled at my desk and accessed all of my accounts: checking, savings, investments, even my very first 401k. I shifted every penny into new banks, specifically ones that my parents didn't know existed. Next, I called every customer service number I could, activated fraud alerts, and froze any joint channels I'd once shared. After that, I updated all my passwords, enabled two-factor authentication, rewrote my security questions, everything. My phone was ringing endlessly, calls from my mother, my father, and my older brother, but I ignored them all. Rather than picking up, I sent an email to my boss, Patricia Vaughn, asking if she was available for a brief conversation. The subject of my email was straightforward: personal and urgent. Patricia Vaughn, a formidable woman in her 50s, had no children and carried herself as if she'd survived an inferno in stilettos. When I stepped into her office, she didn't greet me with a smile but simply motioned toward the chair. "I need some advice," I began. "Not of the legal sort, at least, not yet, but something personal that could spill into my work." She gave me a nod as encouragement to continue. I laid it all out for her: the conversation I'd overheard, all the money I'd handed over the years, Andrew's fraud, the scheme they devised, and my decision to disappear financially. Patricia listened the whole time, her arms folded and her expression growing steadily more grave with each part of my story. When I finished, she leaned in toward me. "First," she began, "you're managing this situation better than most would. Second, I need an attorney, not because I've done something illegal, but because things could get spun against me. Third, keep detailed records. Every cent sent, every request. Document absolutely everything." I pulled up the spreadsheet I'd put together the night before. It covered 6 years of transfers, the dates, amounts, and margin notes, like Andrew's emergencies or Martha's medical expenses. Patricia let out a quiet whistle. "That's about $160,000. I kept quiet. Speaking wasn't possible for me. My throat seemed to close up. She glanced my way, her words carrying a gentle tone. "Now, there's something else to discuss. We have a position available at our Dublin office. You'd have the same role, with an increased salary. Most importantly, I'd be across the ocean from all of this turmoil." "Dublin?" I echoed. "You won't be isolated," she explained. She promised there'd be support, with my visa, relocation, every detail. I didn't reply. Not yet, at least. Still, something inside me changed. Later that day, my older brother at last managed to reach me. I can't say what made me pick up. Perhaps I needed to know what explanation he'd offer. "Jesus, Rachel," he blurted. "Where have you been employed?" I was blunt. "In that position, you imagine there's plenty of money." "And what's that supposed to mean?" he asked. "It means I'm busy. What do you want?" "We have to discuss this as a family. Let's have dinner tomorrow." "I can't. I have priorities greater than family right now." I didn't pause. The kind of world I mean is one where nobody devises a way to take $250,000. Nothing but quiet came from the other side of the phone. "I have no idea what you're referring to," Andrew finally responded. "Cheating on taxes, fraud. You expected me to handle it." He let out a laugh, overly loud and unnatural. "You were eavesdropping. I was delivering lasagna." I reminded him, "Do you recall that family dinner? That comment of yours I still, maybe foolishly, have faith in. Rachel, listen. This situation isn't what you think it is. No, it's exactly what I believe. I know you orchestrated the whole thing. You told them to cry if the situation demanded it. You accused me of being gullible. I'm in a bad spot. You should have considered that before violating federal laws. Are you really prepared to let me serve prison time for money you don't even need? I squeezed my eyes shut. There was no way I could really pay back the $33,000 I handed to Martha and Robert Haynes. The $15,000 I gave them was also money I didn't have to spare. I wasn't able to pay for any of it. Yet I gave the money because I believed that was what family was supposed to do. The pause between us was thick, as if he had nowhere left to turn. He pleaded with me, saying he needed my help, and I told him to ask someone else. I ended the call. Almost instantly, messages poured in from Andrew, from my mother, from my father. I ignored all of them. On Friday, someone knocked at the Everest Analytics Group lobby. It turned out to be my mother, Martha Haynes. She looked older than I remembered. Her hair was unkempt, and her eyes were swollen from crying. Without waiting for permission, she hurried past security and found me by the elevators. Rachel, just hear me out, please. I remained there in the polished lobby of Everest Analytics Group, dressed in a navy suit and heels, as my mother, Martha, broke down in tears like a lost child. We can talk, I told her. Right here. My mother recoiled. Can't we find somewhere private? Andrew is in trouble. I know. Fraud. Tax evasion. He confessed to making poor choices, but insisted that he was my brother. No, he's your child. It's your responsibility to help him. We simply don't have the funds, and I know you're well aware of that. Then perhaps he shouldn't have broken the law. My voice wavered with emotion. How can you be so heartless? This isn't who you are. You're right. The person I used to be would have already handed over the money. The person I once was equated love with giving anything up. The me from before trusted, when I was told that family stands by family. I gave a puzzled glance. What do you mean? I'm telling you that the old me ceased to exist right on your porch. That made her pause. You can't really mean that. I leaned in, lowering my voice. You claimed I'd never refuse you. You said I didn't understand how real life works. You accused me of falling apart whenever you started crying. Now you were genuinely crying, not as an act. This time, your fear was sincere. You pleaded that we were out of options. No, I was just looking for more, and that's not the same. She extended her hand toward me. I took a step back. I left her standing in the lobby beneath the golden signage of Everest Analytics Group. I didn't turn around. Monday morning passed quietly and uneventfully. There were no phone calls, no messages, and no unexpected visits. For a brief time, I allowed myself to believe it might be finished. Perhaps they had finally gotten the message. Tuesday morning, as I was putting my things away, the receptionist buzzed my phone. Rachel, there's someone from legal waiting downstairs, a process server. He says he needs to give you some documents. I went completely still, then let out a slow breath. I let him come up. He delivered a manila envelope to me. There was no exchange of glances, no conversation. A messy signature and a discreet departure were all. Inside was a formal legal complaint. My parents were filing a lawsuit against me, claiming that the financial support I'd given over the years was actually a series of loans, and that my demand for reimbursement was causing them both mental anguish and financial hardship by severing communication. The idea was preposterous. It was so ridiculous that I couldn't help but laugh right there at my desk. It wasn't a hearty laugh, but one that echoed emptily, the sound you make when disbelief collapses and fatigue finally wins. It wasn't simply guilt they were after. Their intention was to make me pay. I reached out to the attorney Patricia Vaughn had suggested, a woman named Monica Shaw. She was quick and straightforward. After I scanned and emailed the paperwork, she called me back 10 minutes later. She told me there was no legitimate case against me. There were no contracts, documentation, written agreements, nothing indicating any of this was a loan. She said this was a classic example of harassment. I wanted to know if we could fight back. She replied that we could file a lawsuit for damages, emotional distress, or defamation. I hesitated because the thought of doing so didn't feel right. I told her plainly, I don't want their money. I just want them out of my life. The phone went quiet for several seconds. Monica then said, I understand. I shut the folder, slid it into the drawer, and locked it away. That weekend, I began gathering my things, preparing not just for Dublin, but for a future in which I was no longer surrounded by people who viewed me merely as a wallet in high heels. The movers were due to arrive on Thursday. Throughout the weekend, I packed away belongings I once imagined would stay with me forever. Cookbooks penned with notes from my mother, Martha Haynes, and holiday photographs I had taken myself. I made sure to pack these keepsakes with care before ultimately deciding to leave most of them behind. On Saturday morning, my older brother called again. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. I answered without hesitation. You're really going to let me end up in Riverside Federal Correctional Institution? He asked. I'm not deciding your fate, I replied. You're going there because you broke the law. I heard his voice falter. I could end up losing it all. I already have, I told him. I've lost my family, my sense of trust, and my hope that any of you valued me as a person instead of simply a resource. There was a long pause. I felt genuine fear. He told me, I didn't know what else I could possibly do. I was the one who orchestrated everything. I found it amusing. I instructed them on how to deceive him. Hurting him was never my intention. Consideration for my feelings was not something you had. He made another attempt. Rachel, I'm asking you, please, I'm pleading with you. My answer hadn't changed. Go ask someone else for mercy. For me, this was over. I ended the call. I blocked the caller. I didn't receive any more messages, and no more calls came through. I guess they finally understood the opportunity was gone. On Wednesday, I paused in the middle of my half-empty Crescent Commons apartments, surveying everything I'd created. Every part was hard-won, each cent fiercely defended, with all of it influenced by people who now seemed unfamiliar to me. I didn't shed any tears. Instead, I organized my final bag, sealed it, and affixed a note for the movers on the door. A 2-bedroom apartment in Dublin, with a view of the river. That evening, my sleep was more restful than it had been in a very long time. Not because everything had been resolved, but because I had stopped putting on an act. I discovered it hidden at the back of a cupboard, stashed behind battered old baking trays in a pie dish, chipped and unused for ages. The lasagna dish was spotless and weighty, the same one I had brought with me that Saturday supper, brimming with optimism, cheese, and warmth, truly believing I was arriving at love. My fingers traced its smooth rim. It was only glass and metal, but inexplicably, it seemed to contain my entire history. Every meal I prepared, all the efforts I put forth, each instance they drained me while grinning all the while, was within it. No tears came to my eyes. I simply lifted the pan, turned away, and let it fall into the kitchen trash. The sound it made was soft. At Lakewood International Airport, holding my boarding pass, I received a final text from an unfamiliar number, though I instantly recognized the sender. Martha, I'm sorry. Not for asking for support, but regarding the method by which we intended to obtain it. You were entitled to more. I wish that you might be able to forgive us one day. I gazed at the message for quite a while before replying, I hope one day you become worthy of forgiveness. After that, I shut off my phone and walked in the direction of my gate. 9 months later, Monica Shaw, my lawyer, delivered the news. My older brother was given a sentence of 22 months at Riverside Federal Correctional Institution for tax evasion, wire fraud, and attempting to hide assets. My parents had put their home up for sale to assist with his legal costs. Most of their money was lost in the process regardless. Now, they had moved in with my aunt, Janet Pierce, in South Carolina. I didn't feel triumphant, nor remorseful, and not even resentful. Those were now just names to me. People from a previous existence, no longer part of my world. In Dublin, the clouds were always in flux, shifting from gray to shining silver, to a hue that felt almost gentle. Crescent Commons apartments stood on a corner, with aged brick walls and a view overlooking the river. I had built real friendships, people at work who cared about me for reasons beyond just what I could offer financially. Occasionally, in the peaceful hours of Saturday morning, I would still cook lasagna just for myself. It wasn't out of longing for my past relationships, but rather to remember the young woman I was, the one who believed that sharing a meal was the same as sharing affection. That version of me, the one who would continually place my heart in a casserole dish and deliver it to their door, always hoping it would be returned undamaged, no longer existed. Someone new had taken her place now. This was a person who had realized that affection devoid of esteem only masks itself as emotional debt. This was a person who finally learned that choosing to leave doesn't mean surrendering. It actually means reclaiming my own identity. Often, the sole person who shows up for me is myself. I used to believe that being present for others was enough, as if continual agreement, endless generosity, and perpetual casseroles could make everything right. And by making sure the expenses were taken care of, my hope was that eventually they would notice me for who I am, not just for what I could provide. However, some people will care for you only as long as you're beneficial to them. The instant I stopped giving, it was as if I vanished from their world. I didn't choose to walk away to hurt them. My decision to leave was about safeguarding the pieces of myself that remained. If you've ever found yourself standing outside a door, clutching something warm and full of hope, only to be met with a truth that shatters you, I understand. It's not necessary to justify why I stopped reaching out, why I didn't return for the holidays, or why I chose distance. I am not obligated to apologize for putting my own well-being first. If you've ever been the one who supported others in silence, just share one word you longed for them to say to you.